We tell ourselves stories to feel safe, right? Stories about monsters that can be beaten. But what happens when the most messed up stories aren't fiction? What if they're real things that happened, hiding right out in the open, where the line between your normal, everyday life and an absolute nightmare is just terrifyingly thin?
What if the monsters we're all so scared of aren't hiding under the bed, but they're sitting right next to us, smiling? Well, we're about to dive into some true stories that prove reality can be way, way more disturbing than anything you could make up. Okay, just think about this for a second. The key witness in a murder case isn't even a person. It's a pet? I mean, that sounds like something straight out of a corny detective novel, doesn't it? Or how about this one? A super charming bachelor wins a date on national TV while, secretly living a double life as one of the most vicious serial killers out there. And for the final piece of the puzzle, a selfless hero being praised on the news for his incredible bravery is actually the villain who caused the whole disaster in the first place. See, these aren't plot twists from some Hollywood movie. These are real headlines. So first up, let's look at the people who wore these masks of normalcy to hide the absolute monsters they were inside. How in the world does evil blend in so easily with the rest of us? All right, meet Rodney Alcala. The year is 1978, and he is a contestant on the super popular show, The Dating Game. And he's killing it. He's a successful photographer, he's witty, he's charming, he's telling dirty jokes, the audience is eating it up, and he wins the date. It's a perfect TV moment. Except there is something horribly, horribly wrong with this picture. Now, take a look at this timeline. At the exact moment Alcala was charming his way into America's heart on television, he wasn't just a convicted felon. He was actively in the middle of a brutal killing spree. He was literally on the FBI's most wanted list while filming a game show. That charming guy on screen, that was the exact same persona he used to lure his victims to their deaths. But here's the twist. The date never actually happened. The Bachelorette, a woman named Cheryl Bradshaw, flat out refused to go. She said later that he was very creepy and she just got these weird vibes from him. That gut instinct, that feeling in her stomach, it saved her life. It made her the only woman we know of who got that close to Rodney Alcala and actually walked away. This same kind of horrifying deception played out at a nursing home. So, on one hand, you've got Roger Dean, a nurse, giving this breathless, heroic interview right outside the burning building. He's claiming he did everything he could to save people. But the truth? Oh, the truth is so much darker. Dean started that fire himself. He lit it in 2 different places with a simple cigarette lighter. And he wasn't some evil genius. He lit those fires to destroy pharmacy records because he'd gotten caught stealing painkillers. He was willing to let 11 people die to cover up the theft of 237 pills. And sometimes this kind of deception hits even closer to home. After a terrible house fire killed all 6 of his children, Mick Philpott held a press conference. But something was just off. He wasn't crying. That one tiny detail was enough to tip off the police. So they bugged his hotel room and they overheard whispers about sticking to the story. The plan they uncovered was absolutely monstrous. Mick had set the fire himself. His twisted goal was to stage a dramatic rescue, save his kids, and frame his ex-mistress for the whole thing. But the fire ignited way too fast, and the very children he planned to save were trapped and killed by his own horrific plan. Okay, so sometimes the truth isn't buried in some huge conspiracy. Sometimes it's right there in the smallest details. A weird phrase, a casual glance, some tiny overlooked thing that ends up changing everything. Can you imagine hearing these words echoing through a silent house? Don't fuck shoot. It's chilling, right? Well, these 4 words, spoken not by a person, but by a parrot, would end up being the key to solving a brutal murder. So here's the story. In May of 2015, Martin Durham was found dead, shot 5 times. His wife, Glenna, was found with a head wound and a very convenient case of amnesia. It looked like a robbery gone wrong. But then, weeks later, their African gray parrot, Bud, started doing something incredible. He started reenacting this heated argument, perfectly mimicking both Martin's and Glenna's voices. And the argument always ended with the parrot screaming, in Martin's voice, "Don't fuck shoot." This absolutely bizarre testimony made investigators take a much closer look at Glenna, and they soon uncovered massive gambling debts. Incredibly, the parrot had memorized and was now repeating its owner's last desperate moments alive. In this case, the clue wasn't something somebody did, but a horrifying lack of, well, anything. Just look at this timeline. After waiting 24 hours in an ER, a woman named Esmond Green collapsed on the floor. And for the next hour, security footage shows this cascade of just awful neglect. Guards look at her body and just walk away. A nurse strolls right past her. Finally, a staff member comes over, not to help, but to nudge her lifeless body with their foot. And here's the most damning clue of all. While she was literally dying on the floor, the staff falsified her charts, writing that she was awake and sitting. The security footage, though, told the real, horrifying story. And this was the price tag on that negligence. After the truth came out, the city settled with Asmund's family for $2 million. 6 employees were fired, but the real cost was one woman's life, just lost to an hour of complete and total indifference. All right, for our last section, we're looking at those irreversible moments, split-second decisions, fatal miscalculations, and tragic accidents where one single action changes everything forever. There's no going back. 62. That is how many stories high Wu Yongning was. He was a famous rooftopper, known for these incredibly dangerous stunts. This one, a pretty simple pull-up challenge, was for a $15,000 prize. And of course, he used absolutely no safety equipment. He knocked out the first 2 pull-ups, no problem. But when he tried to climb back up onto the roof, his foot slipped against the smooth glass of the building. He couldn't get a foothold. He was just trapped. He hung there for 20 agonizing seconds before his grip finally gave out. One single tiny slip. That was his moment of no return. Now, in this case, a really devastating accident was caused by something almost laughably simple. A huge speedboat ran directly over a small fishing boat. The 3 guys on board barely escaped by jumping into the freezing water. The captain of the speedboat claimed he never even saw them. And the reason why is just astonishing. He was sitting down. In that position, the front of his boat created this massive blind spot, totally blocking his view of the water right in front of him. Simply standing up would have prevented the entire disaster. This story is it's heartbreaking. Security footage shows a man named Kyler Effinger running across an airport tarmac. But what looks like some kind of attack was actually a terrible tragedy. He had been held up by security and missed a flight to his grandfather's funeral. And the stress of that moment, knowing he wasn't going to get to say goodbye, it triggered a manic episode. He ran out onto the tarmac and directly into a running jet engine. Investigators later found out he had just started taking medication for bipolar disorder only a week earlier. It was just a moment of intense stress that led to this absolutely irreversible tragedy. So, what's the common thread here? What ties all these different stories together? I think it's the chilling realization that the world isn't always what it seems to be. We've seen the charming man who was actually a monster, the tiny, insignificant clue that unraveled everything, and the split-second choice that became a point of no return. You know, we're always looking for monsters in the shadows, but these stories prove they often walk right out in the daylight. And it really makes you wonder, what terrifying truths are hiding just beneath the surface of the world you think you know?